Hey everyone, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Rocky Lalvani. He is a certified profit first professional known as the Profit Answer Man, helping business owners flip the script on traditional accounting to make a profit priority from day one. Through his work, Rocky empowers entrepreneurs to pay themselves first, grow sustainable businesses, and achieve financial freedom without sacrificing their values. How you doing today, Rocky?
I'm doing well, Anthony. Thank you so much for having me.
No, I was excited to have you on. I was reading a bit about you. You're doing some cool things. You're helping a lot of people, and I'm all about that here. So there's some folks out there that would benefit from knowing you. So to start off, where are you located? Where are you calling in from?
I am in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but we work globally. So anywhere in the United States, we've had clients in Canada and Europe. So it doesn't matter where you are, we can still work through the technology of the world today.
Sure. So where you're at now, have you been there for a while, or are you newer to the area?
No, I think we've been here over 30 years now. So I think
Okay.
that's a while.
Yeah, so you're getting used to the neighborhood. You probably have your own haunts. So if you have friends coming into town that have never visited before, where are you going? What are you doing? And what's for dinner?
I think it really depends on what they like. We're very close to Hershey, PA, so it's right next door, the amusement park, all of that stuff. We're really close to Gettysburg, so some people prefer that type of stuff. We're close to the river, and we're close to Amish country. Just kind of depends. What do you like? There's so many places to go and so much fun to do. And if you just want to hike up the mountain, it's right behind the backyard.
Okay, so plenty to do. But what about dinner? Are you more of a take guests out, or are you more of a home cook, and you have like a standard meal you like to prepare?
We used to love to go out. I think going out has kind of shifted since COVID. The ability to get great service without a great price these days has kind of shifted. And I love to cook, so a lot of times we'll do stuff at home, but there's always the reason for an experience. So it kind of depends.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. I don't mind going out, but honestly, if I have friends coming in, I have a nice smoker. We'll just go spend the money we would on a restaurant on like a nice chunk of meat or something, and cook it up for everybody. So awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you do?
So, what we basically do is help business owners scale and grow their profit and their cash flow. I think a lot of time business owners just talk about revenue. How much revenue do I have? Ooh, I just have a problem. And so the solution to the problem is just sell more. And I think more often than not, selling more creates more problems than solutions. And it really depends on the business. Every business is different, they all have different issues. But the vast majority of businesses do have issues with cash flow. The question comes up, can I make payroll this week? Am I waking up in the middle of the night sweating that? Or how is it that I can scale and grow? But too often, I think they just think about top line growth and they get to 8 figures and even 9 figures. And they're wondering, where is that reward that I keep thinking is coming? If you don't plan for that cash flow and you don't plan for that growth, then the rewards don't come. And I think that's kind of that dirty little secret that people don't talk about. Revenue is not money in your pocket, revenue is not profit. And that's a big issue.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. How'd you get started doing this? Is this something you always wanted to do? Like in high school, this was your plan, or was it a happy accident?
It was a slight detour. So I've always been a financial kind of geek. I've always been a spreadsheet geek. The problem was I couldn't find the right mix of where the values I brought, the integrity I brought, along with how I could help people with money. But it's not only that you have to help people, because there's a lot of things people want, but they're not willing to pay for. And so you also have to find that intersection. Here's a problem. People want it and they're willing to pay for it. And so I think that final pivot was moving from personal finance to business finance. I just assumed that business owners understood the business of business. And I have learned since then and really found out how little the average business owner understands about the business of business, which doesn't now surprise me because if you think about it, if people are struggling with money personally, it's no different in their business. They're going to struggle in their business as well. And so that was kind of the pivot that shifted me. I already had many of the skills. And so it was finding the right place to utilize those skills, realizing there was that big gap in the market. And I was just oblivious to it. You ever notice how when you're really good at something, you just assume everyone else is? Yeah. That
Yeah.
was me. I just assumed everyone, because I was always in the advanced math class. I just assumed everyone else knew how to do math. I assumed that all of these things, I never realized it was a problem. And just because you know how to do math doesn't mean you know how to run a profitable business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a misconception most people have until they see otherwise, where somebody's a really good plumber and they start a plumbing business and now they have to be a really good plumber and a really good business person. So there's a huge disparity between what you think and what reality is. So okay, awesome. Well, what is it that you love most about what you're doing now?
So I love solving problems. And basically, what business owners are bringing me is their problems. They're coming because, hey, I don't have enough money. But what's the problem that's not causing them to have enough money? It could be a variety of things. So when we look at a business, the first thing is, do they have good lead flow? Are they talking to enough people? And does that convert into an offering that, like I said before, that people are willing to buy? And is it priced right? So the first thing we look at is, how do we drive revenue to a business? Do they have the right marketing? Do they have the right pricing? Do they have the right offering? And if we take all of those things, we can do the math and say, here's how you can generate whatever your X dollars in revenue that you need to generate. The second thing we then do is, okay, take the plumber, right? You mentioned a plumber. You went out and you did whatever that job was. When you do plumbing, you got to bring parts, right? And then you've got your labor, time and material, and then you got to pay for your truck and tools. Well, did you figure all of that out correctly? And you got to pay for marketing, right, to get those leads. So then we sit down and say, hey, okay, you generated the revenue, but did your revenue cover all your costs? Is it appropriate? And that's how we figure out profit. And then the third thing is, how do we figure out cash flow? So, like you said, some of you may have noticed this. The plumber comes out to your house, you guys agree on a price, he does the work, and he doesn't send you an invoice for weeks. Well, if he doesn't send you an invoice for weeks, what are the chances of him getting paid? Slim to none. And when he finally does send it to you, you're like, I guess he doesn't need money, so you pay even slower. Do they have the right terms? Or maybe it's a big job. Does he realize he has to take on the burden of all those things he has to buy, or has he done it correctly to say, hey, I need a deposit? These are the terms. This is the way I can pay for the materials. So all of those things come together, and then it's making sure that you've got the money coming in, appropriate money going out. The plumbers, of course, believe, and it's kind of funny, well, of course I need a new truck, right? Not just an average truck. I need the big Ford 250 with all the stuff in it, right? So now we got $100,000 truck. They forget, if you go out and you buy $100,000 truck and your business has a 10% profit margin, you need $1 million in sales just to pay for that truck. And when you flip the equation like that, they're like, I don't think I need $100,000 truck anymore. Yeah, people aren't buying your plumbing services because you got a cool truck. They're buying it because they've got a problem they want fixed. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell.
Okay. When you're looking at like the avatar of your average client or the people that you best serve, what does that look like? Or what are the pain points that they might be going through that if somebody's dealing with X, Y, or Z, you're the person they should be talking to?
So they're allergic to looking at their financials. They just want to ignore it. And believe me, that's a big percentage of people. We tend to work with 7 and 8 figure business owners so that they've been through some of the downturns. They understand why this is valuable. They just don't necessarily know how to solve it because they're too busy doing the plumbing. They're like, this stuff over here doesn't make sense to me. And so they want help, and they're coachable. They're willing to listen and to do the work to figure these things out and bring about change. And that's kind of who we like to work with.
Okay. How about power partners? What are other professionals or professions out there that you synergize well with and you can collaborate with?
So a lot of times we like to synergize with people who are also working with those particular people. So it could be a banker because the banker is saying, hey, they want to borrow money. We need to make sure they have good cash flow to be able to borrow money. It could be an accountant, CPA, who's like, hey, here's your taxes. You were profitable. And they're like, I don't have the money to pay the tax bill. So that becomes an issue. It could be another business coach or a marketing person who are helping them in other parts of their business. But when the marketing person sits down with them, they're like, well, I don't know how to pay you and I don't know how to calculate the return on the marketing. Or the business coach says, hey, we've come up with these great plans or we want to put these systems in. Are they going to actually make you profitable? Because a lot of them aren't looking at the numbers. They've got a great idea, but nobody put pen to paper to say to math, does it work? At the end of doing all this work, is there going to be cash in the bank? And can I take some of it out to live my life? Because at the end of the day, people go into business to have time freedom and to make money. And if you don't have those two things, then something in your business is broken. And if you don't know how to fix it, get help. And that's what we help fix.
Okay. What advice would you give to a new or aspiring entrepreneur?
So I think the biggest thing is do the math. And what that means is sit down and figure out, if I sell whatever my offering is, can I actually make money at it? How many of those do I have to sell to pay me enough to pay my mortgage at home and cover the things that I want to do? A lot of times we'll sit down and we'll look at a business and it doesn't math. What that means is the more you do that, the more you're going to go broke because the numbers say it's not going to work. A lot of times it's a highly competitive industry where that occurs. E-commerce is notorious for that type of thing. All these things, you hear people saying that they're making all this revenue. What you really need to find out is how much are they keeping. The boring, mundane jobs are the ones that tend to put the cash in the bank, but nobody wants to do boring and mundane.
Absolutely. What would you say is the number one reason most profitable businesses still run out of cash?
So profit doesn't equal cash. And I think that's the biggest thing that people need to understand. Some of the biggest reasons: heavy debt load. The business owner is buying too many things in the company that the company doesn't necessarily need. Going back to the fancy truck, right? Or they're using the business like a piggy bank and they're starving the business because they need the money at home to pay the mortgage. And so there's that battle back and forth and understanding what it is and how it goes together.
How does the profit first method change the way business owners think about money?
So, Profit First is not an accounting system, and I think that's where people get it wrong. Profit First is about a mindset shift, it's a psychological shift. Everyone is told sales minus expenses equals profit. So, in that equation, where is profit? It's at the end. It's a leftover, right? Everyone goes to the P&L. They look all the way to the bottom corner. Was there anything left for me? It's like an afterthought. What Profit First says is, hey, sales minus profit equals expenses. So we pay ourselves first. You've all heard that. We take our profit first. This isn't evil or rude or anything. It's just you said you're going to be profitable. Take your profit first. And now this is what's left to cover your expenses. And you need to figure out how to run the business on what's left. So it's kind of a constraint system. How do I run my business on the money that's left that I can allocate it to? So it's built on Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law basically says you will use up all the time and money allocated to something. So if you say, I've got 3 weeks to do a job, it'll take you 3 weeks. You say I got 3 hours. It's amazing what gets done in the last minute, right? So that's kind of the key. Same thing with the budget. You got 100,000, we'll spend 100,000. You got 5,000, We'll get creative and we'll figure out how to do it for $5,000. But you got to think, and that's really what it forces you to do.
What would you say is a simple habit that can instantly improve somebody's financial clarity in their business?
So, back in the day, before we had all these credit cards and even maybe so much the banks, people used to get their paycheck and they would take their paycheck and they'd have envelopes. And this envelope was for the rent payment, and this one was for groceries. Maybe this was for, Christmas or kids club or whatever it is. So they took their money and they gave it a purpose and they set it to do that. It's the same thing we do for business owners. When your money comes in, what is the purpose of that money and are you sending it to do that purpose? So really it's about clarity. Hey, this dollar came in, it's not a dollar for me. I still got to pay all these things, so I got to make sure I cover all those different things.
Okay. Why you? What sets what you're doing apart from everybody else out there that might be doing something similar?
So, I think one of the biggest things that happens in the financial world is that the people you're talking to don't explain it to you. They kind of make you feel, they make you look down on you, or they don't explain it in a way that's understandable. What we do is we take very complex subjects and we make it simple and understandable so that the business owner gets it and they're empowered to do what they want. The second half is it's not just about the numbers. It's about the psychology of money and how we behave with it. And so what we do is we make it understandable and we also understand their psychology and how they behave with money. We put the two together to make it easier for them to take action. It makes numbers fun. I know that's hard to believe, but we do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it would be magic if you could. I wasn't in the advanced math class, so happy there's people out there like you. I know when it comes to businesses and profit and all this, we could spend all the time talking about any one area. But in general, is there anything that I missed or that I failed to ask that you wanted to add?
No, I think the biggest thing is most of what you need to run a business on a math basis is not advanced math. Most of it is basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You learn most of that by third or fourth grade, hopefully. But that's what it is. This isn't calculus. It's not algebra. We're not doing crazy stuff. When you can understand those basic things and when you can get the numbers presented to you in a way that you understand, then it makes it simple for the business owner to take action. Because once they understand it, and they see what's going on in their business, they know what to do. The problem is these accountants and these bookkeepers present numbers in a way that don't make sense. They don't answer their questions. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Okay. For those out there that are ready to have their questions answered, what's the best way they get a hold of you? Where can they find you?
So my website is profitcomesfirst.com. And when you go there, you can find the podcast. I just tell people, if you want to learn more about how these things work, just listen. You'll get ideas and you'll be able to implement a lot of stuff yourself. And if you decide you don't want to do it yourself and you need help, we're there.
Perfect. And I'm going to put all that in the show notes so it's super easy to find. If anybody would like to get a hold of Rocky, do it. Stop guessing when it comes to your business. It's good to have an idea and make sure that you're going to get paid and your business is going to be around tomorrow. Have that conversation. If anybody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Rocky. If you were somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Let's all go have an awesome day and grow our circles, all right?